Well, hello, hello, hello. Once again, so glad to be with you all for yet another episode of iRock.TV. This is Nicolette Barrett, your hostess with the mostest, CEO and founder of iRock Development Solutions, LLC, doing business as iRock Resumes. And I am also known as your career development strategist and also the get hired strategist. That's all I want to do is make sure that you get hired. I love, love, love transforming career professionals from job applicants to job candidates. Yes, that's why I rock the resumes. So, as always, I'm excited to be with you all, and I have a great, great guest that we're going to be talking about seed time and harvest time. So, we're going to be talking about that on today. Let me take a look here. I want to get my little banners up here. Now, if you are watching me for the first time, I want to make sure that I acknowledge you. So, please raise your hand, put an emoji, raise your hand to let me know that this is your first time joining, even if you're watching a replay. Put hashtag, raise your hand, and also put hashtag replay to let me know that you actually watched the show today. And if you have always been running with me for the longest period of time, as you know, I've been doing these shows for more than 5 years now, go ahead and put a star because I consider you part of my iRock Star community. And thank you so much for always joining me. And if this is actually a supported show by all of our viewers, so I would love for you to go to buymeacoffee.com/iRockTV and support the show. It's only a $5 donation to support the show. Buy me one, two, or a couple of coffees. Thank you so much to all of you all who have done that already. I really appreciate it because it actually helps me offset the cost for this actual show. So let me see what else I need to let you all know before we go into our intro. So this is our topic today: learning the importance of seed time and harvest in business. Lessons learned with our very special guest, Valerie Johnson. And I'm so excited to have her on today. And also today, our show is sponsored by our Rock's career coaching program. Yes, if you need help with anything, I love, love, love making sure that I help you with your coaching or anything with your career. So what we do is I build it on 4 pillars: making sure you have clarity, making sure that you're focused, making sure that you're actually having a strategy and that you launch from there. It's not about just talking about it and making you feel good. I hold you accountable to make sure that you're doing what I'm asking you to do. And it's only going to help you advance your career. So every show we have some kind of sponsor, and it's sponsored by iRock Resumes, our Rock Career Coaching Program. So please, please, please make sure you're doing that. And again, go to buy me the topic is very good. Yes. We got Terralyn on. Hey, Terralyn. Man, Terralyn spent some time last Saturday cranking out some content, didn't we, girl? We got through that stuff. So I'm so excited for when that content comes out for your, with the women of the word, WORD. I can't wait till that comes out. So I'm excited to have you on, and she is the sister of our guest, and I'm so thankful to have her. So I am going to go ahead and do my quick intro, and then we're going to get right on into it. All right, let's see. Where's my brand? I'll be right back. And we're here. Hey! Hello, Miss Valerie. I am so excited to have you on the show. You are a rock star in your own right. I have known your family, oh gosh, since y'all relocated here, right? From
Yes, from
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yes, And I am so honored to have been able to help you all, turn you all from job applicants to job candidates as well. And I love this new format of the show because I get a chance to invite my clients as guests to come on to share their wisdom, to share their, get an insight of what you do as a professional, because I look at it as virtual job shadowing and actually seeing that, hey, career professionals are people too, and we need to talk candidly. That's why the tagline for this show is talking about real talk, real results, and real careers, because these are people and they need to hear not just me always as a talking head, but hear guests to talk about their experiences and leave nuggets for them so they can advance their career. So you just don't know how honored I am to have you here on today. And let me take a look here. And go ahead and I forgot to pull your bio, but I have
Oh,
all.
it's okay.
So
It's okay.
go ahead, tell us all of
Yeah.
your greatness.
Oh, you are so amazing, Nicolette. You know how much I love you, and I'm just grateful that you even thought of me to join
Yes.
your show because I realize
Hmm.
this has been a labor of love for you. And so
Yes.
I know when
Hmm.
we've connected about even like the work that you did for my resume, you're like, this is just so good. You should be talking about this stuff, and so just that
Yes.
in and of itself, I just think is a
Hmm.
great place to start. So right
Yes.
now, I'm in what we call benefits and well-being. And so I oversee all of the well-being programs and all of our health benefits. And it's been such a great transition for me in my career. My background prior to benefits was in finance. And so many of the
Hmm.
roles that I had prior to now were what you would consider analytical roles or project manager roles. And so
Hmm.
I knew that I wanted to move into a space of just overseeing some of the things that affect people because I'm such a people person.
Yes.
So for
Yes.
me, I don't know how deep you want me to go into my bio, but I just really
Go ahead,
believe
girl. We want to
like
know
go
all of it because
into
people are
it.
really interested in saying, "Well, where did you come from? How did you get there?" And I love the fact that you just planted that seed that you love people. So when I talk about landing your job of your dreams, it's not just a job. You're working in something that's part of your persona, your passion. So
Yeah.
give us a little bit of timeline of history of how you got
Mhm.
there.
Well, let me say this. So I know
Hmm.
you and I went to the same alma mater. We went to
Yep.
University of Illinois,
L
and
I N I.
yes. And so the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of me starting at that point of the story
Mm-hmm.
is prior to going to U of I don't know if you remember how it was structured in terms of the colleges. So they had like the
Mm-hmm.
College of Engineering, you had the
Yep.
College of Business, you had the liberal arts and science colleges. And when I decided I wanted to do finance, I saw that you could pursue it through liberal arts and sciences or through the College of Business. And I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
think I would rather have the designation of the College of Business. And do
Mm-hmm.
you know that because I was an athlete and I ran track, people always assumed that I was not in what you would call a real major? Like
Oh
people just
yeah.
dismiss people who are athletes for whatever reason. It's so
Mm-hmm.
unfair. But I but I really felt that it was important to really
Mm-hmm.
pursue something that I could learn and be able to
Mm-hmm.
apply in a way that I wasn't only just good at math, but I also had a business acumen. And so
Mm-hmm.
initially, early in my career, I felt like I focused on roles that I could do and that I felt I had the confidence
Yes.
to do. But over time, I recognized that I had more of a proclivity to connecting
Mhm.
with people in meaningful ways. And so
Yes.
because I recognized that early, but it was so difficult to transition out of what was
Mhm.
perceived as more of an analytical capacity into the people space,
Mm.
I just had to realize like, okay, the feedback that I'm getting
Mhm.
is showing me that people are not necessarily seeing me the way I want to show up. So that's one thing
Mm.
right there, right? Like realizing that transition of like, okay, how am I showing up and how do I want to show up really
Mhm.
helped me to really narrow in on the skill sets that I needed to develop in order to move into the spaces that I wanted to be in.
Girl, and you know what? I am having a fit because you and your sister sound so much alike that I am
You
just
hear that
like,
so
I mean, you all
often.
sound identical. And I'm like, who am I talking to? It is the funniest thing. You just sound just like Carolyn. Oh my gosh. Okay. But I loved how you talked about that because that's going to be, say, come on. See how many people see, oh yeah, that's right. Show up because I love that you said that because sometimes and when I talk about people in branding, because one of the things I had an opportunity to do is speak to the National Black Coalition, 100 Black Coalition of Women. And we talked about, becoming the CEO of your career. And part of the departments that I talked about is your PR department. And that you have to have that. And that's your brand. So you want to make sure that people saw you for who you are and not be put in a box that people tend to put you in.
Absolutely. And so
Mm-hmm.
that is very important. And the reason why I say
Mm-hmm.
that distinction is important is
Mm-hmm.
because I naturally am more of an observer. Like I would
Mm-hmm.
rather lay back and
Mm-hmm.
observe the atmosphere
Mm-hmm.
before speaking
Mm-hmm.
out on what I think about something. So I
Right.
love engaging in conversation, but I'm not necessarily the one that likes to do all the talking. I like to be the
Mm-hmm.
one to listen and learn. And then, of course, add in my little opinion whenever it's appropriate. But I noticed that a lot of times people perceive that when you're more of an
Mm-hmm.
observer, that you
Mm-hmm.
either don't have an opinion or that you're not going to be a good leader. They
Wow.
misinterpret what that skill looks like in business a lot
Yes.
of times. And that was really the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I felt it was important for our topic today to focus on seed time and harvest, because
Mm-hmm.
there are stages of nature that I believe we can apply to business and in life. And
Mm-hmm.
recognizing where your natural giftings are, I believe helps you to put a foundation in a stage that helps you to
Mm-hmm.
really figure out, okay, what am I lacking? Like while I'm
Mm-hmm.
naturally gifted in this area, what
Yeah.
am I lacking to get to the stage that I want to be in? And so I
Mm-hmm.
liken it to nature
I
in a
love
sense
that.
because of those four components of what I believe are interesting ways of seeing life and noticing how important all four stages are in not only nature, but
Ooh,
also in
girl.
business. You are so
Yes, so
funny,
girl,
Nicolette.
I'm just okay, y'all. Just another thing, I can't remember which episode, but she is the wife of Tony Johnson. Tony Johnson was on the show about a month or so ago. You
That's
see what
right.
powerful this couple is? I knew it when I met them. They
Oh,
are powerful.
but that's a good thing. And honestly, like I said,
Yes,
these four stages that I want to talk through, one of the
yes,
stages is the harvest stage that,
my
which I
lord.
consider is the fourth stage.
Yes.
That harvest stage is the ability to have foresight, to be able to see things in people that they don't even see in themselves. Because that's what
Hmm.
harvesters do. You have
Yep.
wisdom, you have the ability to see beyond what's visible.
Girl.
And I think that is such a
Yes.
powerful
Mm-hmm.
place for leaders to know that they have that
Mm-hmm.
strength. But it's
Mm-hmm.
also important to recognize that leadership can come in all stages and places and phases. But
Right.
again, like
Mm-hmm.
knowing these stages intentionally helps you to know, you know what, I'm spending a lot of time cultivating, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
really spending enough time planting seeds. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
spending enough time preparing the areas or the
Mm-hmm.
conversations or the hearts of people that I need to
Mm-hmm.
impart these ideas to. So it
Right.
all goes hand in hand and they're all important. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
say it's so important, I think, to be reflective in terms of where you are, where your
Yes.
natural skill sets are, because you may need to collaborate with other resources, mentors, or
Mm-hmm.
advocates
Mm-hmm.
to be
Mm-hmm.
in a room or in a space where you don't have access. And even without having that access, you make by making intentional connections to these people who are in different stages than you are providing yourself the influence that you would not be able to have if you weren't
Right.
being strategic and intentional about those connections. So,
Oh,
again, all of these
yes.
things I feel are so important for people to
Mm-hmm.
really get an understanding of, because
Yes.
it will help you tremendously to
Mm-hmm.
really assess not only where you're going, but before you can know where you're going, you have to know where you are.
Mm. Drop the mic, girl. Let's exit stage left. Now let's get into, because I got some questions, because I really want
Yeah.
to peel back the onion on this whole thing, this harvesting. Because when you sent me what you wanted to talk about that topic, I said, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be so powerful because it's for a different perspective," and that's why I love bringing you all onto the show. Again, for you all who are joining us, this is Nicolette Barrett. I'm here at iRock.tv. If you're watching on any of the channels that I'm all over, please make sure you like and share this great content, because we're we're about to go deep into these questions, and I'm sure it's going to not only bless you, but it's going to bless someone else. So share the broadcast with your audience so more people can get on, and let's have this dialogue and conversation. So let's go back to, just the topic as a whole, because you say
Mhm.
learning the importance of seed time and harvest in business. So what do you think? Why do you think we are more like nature than we often realize?
Because I just really think that
Mm-hmm.
I see life in stages, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
often hear that, like I'm in a different season of life, or,
Yeah.
I'm no
Mm-hmm.
longer in the season of, say, wanting to start a family. You're now in the season of your kids, maybe you may be an empty nester, or you're moving to a
Mm-hmm.
different stage. And so
Mm-hmm.
the same is true with
Mm-hmm.
nature in a sense, where obviously you have seasons where you are really trying to break up
Mm-hmm.
ground. You're really trying to make a name for yourself. You're really trying
Right.
to do the heavy lifting to prepare yourself, whether through
Mm-hmm.
education or training, to establish some type of credential or respect in the field that you would like to pursue. And to me, that goes back to nature, because even when you think of gardens,
Yes.
right? You can't just go in
Mm-hmm.
and start planting. You have to sometimes actually break up that dirt that's been
Yeah.
hardened over the winter. You
Mm-hmm.
have to put topsoil and put things down to prepare it to receive what you want it to have. So similarly,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I just felt it was important to break it down in a way of how I see the world, because like
Yes.
I mentioned before, I just see things in stages and in seasons. And the more we can recognize the commonality that we have, we'll work less.
Yes.
We won't be working and toiling to get a breakthrough. We'll recognize what we're lacking sooner than we have to break down walls for ourselves. You'll see that,
Yes.
oh my goodness, I'm totally missing this right now because I didn't take the time to reflect on what am actually dealing with right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a stage right now, I would say, where people consider me a leader of people because I have a team of people.
Mm-hmm.
And even though that would, in my definition of these stages, would be considered again the harvest stage, I
Yes.
am not in that stage permanently. I have to be
Mm-hmm.
willing to recognize that I'm in a new team. I'm having to
Mm-hmm.
cultivate more than being a person that
Yes.
reaps the harvest of the work, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
have to understand the dynamic of the need of where I am in order to get
Wow.
to where I'm going. And I say that because, again, it just for me was so clear. Like, and I'm a
Mm-hmm.
visionary by nature,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see things that other people, for whatever reason, they can't see or understand. And I'm like, it's so obvious. And that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing, Nicolette, really it
Yes.
is realizing what comes easy to you and being able to go
Right.
back to your concept of the personal branding and make
Mm-hmm.
that special gift that you seem to only be the one that has work
Mm-hmm.
for you, and come up with
Yes.
the language to introduce yourself
Girl.
in that format so that people can start to speak and sing your praises because of how
Mm-hmm.
you've given them language to what they're
Mm-hmm.
seeing and experiencing. So your superpower that is unique to you can
Mm-hmm.
become a tool for you to open doors before you ever even get to the door. So that's where
Girl.
I'm trying to get people to get to. I'm trying to get
Yes.
people to see beyond now and
Yes.
recognize sometimes you have to plant seeds and ideas of what is happening in your mind so
Yes.
that you can actually have people doing the labor and the cultivating for your on your
Mm-hmm.
behalf. So yes, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I definitely wanted to make sure you understood why I'm like, what does seed time and harvest have to do with business? It has
Yes.
everything to do
Mm-hmm.
with business. And that's the part that I really hope that people can walk away from and seeing
Mm-hmm.
the connection to.
Oh, and that is so powerful because if we don't even own what we are, what I call subject matter experts in, and put in the mouths of those who are around us, they will continue to, develop your story. But you
Mhm.
have to change that narrative, and you're going to have to
Absolutely.
start planting those seeds by mere, discussions and even saying it and owning it with yourself. Because sometimes I see that
Mhm.
people, when I coach them, they're not taking ownership of their own
They
superpowers. It's like,
undermine it.
Yeah, it's like I just do this, I just do that. And I'm like, no, this is what you really do. I just
Mhm.
had a interview prep session with a client, and the reason she signed up for that coaching package after we've already did her marketing and branding package, she said because of what you said that I never thought about how I need to show up in this interview and what my value is in order to make sure that they see that as well. Because if you
Absolutely.
don't do it, you're not going to be in a good negotiating stage. You're not
Mhm.
going to be able to command a salary or anything. You're just going to just take a job, and you don't want to do that. So understanding and harvest and being able to do that is going to be so powerful. So let me
Mhm.
ask you another question.
Sure.
So what can my audience do, or
Mm.
we overall, what can we do to help ourselves?
Mm. Okay, so
Hmm.
I'll take a step back and I'll
Hmm.
just actually list out the 4 stages.
Yes. Okay,
And the
good.
reason why I think that's important to do
Hmm.
is because if you understand these 4 stages, you can
Hmm.
understand what from that stage you need to do to help yourself.
Yes.
So the way
Hmm.
I look at it, the first stage is the preparation stage. And that might look
Hmm.
like a person who is a natural self-starter if you're already in your career. Like you are
Hmm.
easy to be motivated. You don't need a bunch of people selling you ideas. Like you get it,
Right.
you understand what needs to be done, you can make it happen. This
Hmm.
typically also looks like you're a person that's well organized. You're able to
Hmm.
map out things and get things in order. You're able to help other people who are on certain parts of their journey
Right.
recognize what's needed, whether it's a designation, whether it's getting
Hmm.
the credibility by exposing yourself to other
Hmm.
groups. Those type of people are what I would consider in stage one. They're in the preparation planning stage.
Hmm.
The second
Yes.
stage,
Hmm.
I always like
Hmm.
to say, is the planting stage. And I liken
Hmm.
that to our creatives. So people who are naturally
Oh.
gifted at creating things,
Hmm.
they have fresh ideas and they're always coming up with something fresh and new and changing the game in terms of how they present information. I like to think of that planter stage as that creative space that we are able to be afforded. In
Yes.
many companies, you'll find that to be more of the people who are in communications or marketing
Hmm.
and those types of areas. But it's also about understanding that you have a skill set in bringing people together because you know what's
Yep.
needed to be planted at the right
Hmm.
time. You know when the right season is near to plant those tomato vines and to plant, the grapes in the vineyard and things like that. You understand which season is best to do those things in, and you understand the environment of where you are.
Hmm.
So that's the second stage. The third stage is what I consider the cultivation stage, like I mentioned earlier. And those are your
Hmm.
people who are phenomenal at relationship managing. Like they are just
Hmm.
people. They love to get together with others. They love to, you know, have development through relationships. And sometimes you'll see more people who are in sales organizations in this cultivation stage because it takes tenacity. It takes getting your
Yes.
hands dirty, digging in, being committed to being a subject matter expert, taking a project from a project to putting it into implementation. So that is your cultivation stage. And you
Yep.
have people
That's
who are naturally gifted in this area and it comes easy to them. And for me, like I said, I break things down because I have to understand what's needed even in stages for me, because we all are going to need all 4 of these stages at different places and
Mhm.
times. But we also need to recognize that we might need to partner with others who are stronger in this area than even we are. So that's the first 3 stages. The last stage is the harvester stage. And that again usually is likened to the leaders or managers of organizations. And by that stage, I always look at it like it's something that I think people consider the best place to be because, generally speaking, they are managers, they are leaders of people. But at the same time, like I mentioned before, it takes a lot of wisdom to be in the cultivation and the harvester stage because you have to know the right timing of when to pull certain levers and when to bring in certain people. So those 4
Mhm.
stages I think are important to understand and understand where you fit in those stages. Because if you know
Yeah.
where your
Mhm.
natural proclivity is, but you know where you're wanting to go. So I knew that I was a
Mhm.
cultivator, but I knew that I wanted to get to the
Mhm.
harvest stage. So in order to move through
Right.
cultivation to harvesting, I had to
Yes.
show up differently. I had to
Mm,
be more intentional about taking on projects that gave me more visibility for people to see the abilities that I had in that stage. And by
mhm.
doing those things intentionally, it completely shifted the way that my trajectory went because I went less about focusing on the role and
Yes.
focusing on the skill that I was going to be developing in
That's
the
it.
role.
Mhm. Yep.
So that for me, I hope helps somebody because I think a lot of times we're just bumping
Yes.
our heads against the wall, against a brick wall, and
Yes.
we're not seeing
Mhm.
progress because we're
Mhm.
going about it the same way. Like, I know I'm really good at this. I know I can do it. And it's not that you're
Yes.
not capable. It's not that you're not having the ability to do it.
Right.
Sometimes it's all about recognizing what's
Mhm.
missing that's
Yes.
preventing you from getting to where you're going.
App. You all, I've been, thank you so much, Carolyn, for putting those stages in there. I want you all to write down those stages practical thing I heard so you can be effective. Not just will help you build to that. And if it's not actually something that you want to you find yourself doing as a leader, it's okay. You can still be effective in your role. Let me see. Oh, okay. This my auntie. Hey, TT. She said send them to me. Okay, I sure will. Because I was thinking about this girl. This is so good. I'm gonna get this transcribed. And then your
Okay.
sister said the delineation of these stages is great. Yes, exactly. Because you have to make sure that you understand. Let me see. This was good. Thanks, Valerie. This is Kimmy Brooks. Hi, Kimmy. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay,
Yeah.
let me see. And oh yeah, Taylor said I keep freezing. I keep seeing that I'm freezing too. So hopefully
Mhm.
my Wi-Fi looks good here. So I'm not sure why I'm freezing and it keeps spinning. I just clicked out of a lot of other websites just to make sure that I have your full attention, everybody here. So hang with me, y'all. Hang with me. Hopefully you can hear the most important part, which is Valerie. So I want to make sure that she is being heard. Okay, that was good. Thanks, Valerie. And
Definitely.
okay, yes, ma'am. TT, I'll make sure you get that. Okay. All right. So let's talk about. Let me see. So, what were some of the failures that you don't mind sharing? Because I like to talk about failures from a perspective so people can understand we all go through challenging times in our career. And I don't necessarily want to call them failures. I really like to call them failures. And I can't remember where I picked up that phrase from, but in probably some podcast or book that I listened to. But it's about falling forward and then being able to pick yourself up because you're sitting here, you're evidence of how you have done that. So let's talk about that.
I think that's always a good way to look at things in terms of what have I not done well, is how I would look at it,
Mm,
right? And I would
mhm,
have to go back to what I think I was touching on earlier in the podcast is the
mhm,
fact that early in my career, I allowed others to define my narrative. I allowed others the
mm.
power to almost marginalize something that was really a gifting for me. So
Wow.
I was really naturally analytical. And like I said,
Yes.
naturally observant. And as
Mhm,
opposed to me being forward footed in terms
mm,
of um, making that marketable, making the
mhm,
translation to how that actually benefits companies to have people who are
mhm,
analytical,
mhm.
I learned that I needed to, again, define specifically how what I knew was my strength of being
Mm,
reflective, being introspective, finding ways to help share my vision in a more forward looking perspective. And by
mhm,
that, what I meant, what I did was, as opposed to, first of all, getting feedback that I didn't like and shutting
mm.
it out. Like, so
Yeah.
say, for example, when I was having early conversations, I think I had applied for a couple of like management positions in some
Mhm,
previous companies that I worked for. and I
Mhm.
didn't get selected for those roles. And the feedback that I got, which was a blessing to me, shared that, oh, I don't think you're tenacious enough. I don't think you didn't show up as aggressive enough for leading a team of people. You seem very passive, right? And so, of course, initially when I received that feedback, I was offended. I felt like they don't know anything. They don't
Mhm.
know me,
Mhm.
and really was tempted to dismiss it altogether as though it really wasn't legitimate. And what I had to do instead was ask myself, well, is it true? If it's
Mm.
true, what are you going to do
What do
about it
about
in
it? Yes,
order to
ma'am.
make a difference for the future that you desire? And I think
Yes.
that's the first step of anything, really. We
Mhm.
have to
Yes.
decide how we will
Mhm.
receive feedback, whether we agree with the feedback or not. And I think that decision point really grows something up in you. Like it really
Mhm.
matures you. And I always hear this term, emotional intelligence, all the time. And I'm like, I don't really think it's emotional intelligence. I really think it's
Mhm.
more emotional discipline that people
Mm.
need
Oh,
to
we gotta put that in
exhibit.
there. Emotional
Yes,
discipline.
yes,
Oh, that
because
that
it's
term right
not.
there. Yes. I
Yes, it's
love it.
not
Mhm.
about being
Mhm.
aware of emotion.
Mhm.
It's not about
You're
having
right.
a knowledge of the emotion.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
about your demonstration of those
Yeah.
emotions when it is tested, right?
Mhm.
And that was something that I knew that when they said that I was passive, to me, it's like I'm cool under any pressure.
Mm.
That's a skill. That's a
Exactly.
superpower, right? And
Mhm.
so I just remember during the Gulf of Mexico crisis, that being my superpower. Everyone else
Mhm.
was stressing out, getting overwhelmed, not able to figure things out. But because I
Mhm.
had a gifting in the
Mhm.
area of being steady, being
Mhm.
focused, and seeing the big picture, whether or not these things are working for me or not, I was able to get to the point of seeing the solution. And that's
Mhm.
another strength, my ability to
Yep.
solve problems and tackle things that other people didn't want to address. So
Mhm.
you have to learn how. So from that failure in my mind of allowing people for so long to box
Mhm.
me into roles simply because of how they perceived me, gave me
Mhm.
the ability that I needed to shift the tide in terms of recognizing that I have to be more intentional about articulating how my strengths show up
Mhm.
in this business setting. And that articulation is something that only you can do. And so you have to
Mhm.
do the work. That's the next
Mhm.
thing. It's about recognizing the feedback. Is it true? But then are you willing to do the work necessary to get you to where you are now changing that perception, which is reality for the people that are telling you
Mhm.
that? Are you
Yep.
willing to do the work to make this transition, to make this change? Just like seasons,
Yep.
sometimes we can sit on the vine too long in a
Mhm.
space and
Mhm.
rot. But the beauty
Mhm.
is, and my cousin
Mhm.
says this all the time, she's like, "You're not a tree. You can get up and move, right? So we are not trees. We can have the ability to reinvent
We
ourselves.
sure
We can,
can.
if we don't
Mhm.
like how we're showing up, we don't have to stay stuck." And that's the
Mhm.
third thing, recognizing that only you have the power to decide what you will be and how you will show up. And once you
Mhm.
take the ownership away from other people, it's not about your manager, it's not about your
Mhm.
leader, it's not about the person that didn't give you the promotion or didn't give you the opportunity. It's about how you will respond to that. That's how
Mhm.
I feel we have so much power in that emotional discipline space. How
Mhm.
will you react to the things that you don't
Mhm.
like, the things that are not going your way? And if you
Right.
understand that that power only lies with you, then
Mhm.
you take the focus off of other people. You learn
Mhm.
how to humble yourself and you
Mhm.
learn how to honor the position that you're pursuing. You realize I do have some things to learn. And that
Yep.
makes you that much more prepared when you get to the harvest stage. You won't
Mhm.
marginalize the planter. You won't marginalize the preparer. You definitely won't
Woo!
marginalize the collaborator and the cultivator because you will know what it took in those stages that you were in to be
Mm.
there, waiting for your time to mature. And
Is
so
she
all of
preaching
those
y'all or
things
what?
are just so vital, right? It's so important.
Woo!
It's so
Yes.
important. And I just think
Mhm.
we dismiss it as opportunities, and it really is
Mhm.
a gift. Feedback is
Mhm.
totally. a gift.
Yeah. I love this. My auntie says, oh, no, I like emotional discipline because of the lack of what we get in trouble in the past few days have been about emotional discipline because it's not just about knowing when to use your emotions, but also having the
Yeah.
discipline to actually control them. And
Yes.
this whole focus is just actually really mind blowing and something that we have to understand because I did a live one time about all feedback is not good feedback because you do want to have the discernment of what type of feedback and what it
Mhm.
means to you. I'll never forget I had a leader when I was having a discussion about potentially going to the next level in the corporation. And this leader, number one, and I had was able to get the time on the calendar, and the leader took off their watch and sat it down. So
Mm.
that was number one. I was very offended by that because I'm like, okay, so what is that? You're showing me that you ain't got time for me,
Mhm.
although I put it on your calendar. And then she gave me some feedback that was so off the cuff. And it was like just something she just pulled out. It wasn't as if she was really listening to me and what I wanted to do. She said, well, okay, well, what you need to do is work on your active listening. I'm like, I
Mm.
think I'm a excellent listener. And so I'm like, active listening. I said, that's just so left field. Where'd you get that from? So I had to go to my immediate boss and I told her, and I said, she said, that's not right. She said, you're a very active listener. So I said, she said, I'm so sorry. I said, well, that's what she told me. So I said, I don't think I need to work on that. To me, it was just like saying something to get me out of her office. And that's very offensive. So therefore, you have to make sure that you look at that feedback and make sure if it's yours or not. And if you need to do something with it, because sometimes you do not have to do
That's
anything
the
with
point.
it.
Is
Yep.
it
And look,
true?
yep.
Is it true? Is it
Yep.
true? No, it's not true, so that means you're good. But when it is
Right.
true, that's the
Yes.
part that gives you the opportunity, I would say, for
Mm-hmm.
sure,
Yeah.
'cause
Look at
you
all
have
these
to
comments,
filter.
girl. They are coming in, and y'all look at your husband. Hey, Tony. He's like, preach. And it's
Yes.
about that tree. Look, yes, we can't marginalize any of the sage. We need them all. Yep. And then Tammy, hey Tammy, you are not a tree. Move. Let me see. And then Terrell says, how do you react to things you don't like? This is a good
That's the
question.
discipline,
Let's do
right?
that.
Isn't
Yep.
that the discipline that comes in?
Yes.
Because a lot of times our
Mm-hmm.
natural reaction is defensiveness, right?
Yeah.
We
Feelings
either
are hurt.
we either wanna make that person feel like how we're feeling in that moment,
Yeah.
or we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
find a way to point out all the things that they don't do right or all the things that they're
Mm-hmm.
not good at, and
Right.
not take the time to actually realize that, "Okay, I didn't like that how that went, but let me figure
Mm-hmm.
out what caused them to have that perception. What caused
Mm-hmm.
them to have that experience?" And to your point, it
Yeah.
all of these micro inequities, all these little clues leading up to that comment
Right.
may be your truth. It may be what it is, where you know that that feedback wasn't even for you because you
Mm-hmm.
already showing me through your body language, you're showing me through your
Yes.
behavior, your actions
Yes.
that
Mm-hmm.
this is not time that you really are here to spend with me. You're not
Mm-hmm.
in this for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you do have someone that is a trusted advisor, a person that
Yes.
will be
Trusted
authentic
advisor.
with you, a person
Mm-hmm.
that is willing to tell you the tough messages even when it's not
Mm-hmm.
popular,
Right.
that I feel is another opportunity. And we can have a whole nother show about that,
Girl, we
Lizette,
sure can, because we're gonna have to get you
because
back for this because this is
yeah,
so
not
deep and
everyone that
powerful.
mentors you. Like,
Yes.
you wanna be quick
Mm-hmm.
to say, "Oh, she's my mentor, he's my mentor," but are they actually pouring into your life in a meaningful way and enabling you to recognize the steps that it might take to shift that negative feedback into a positive?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's
Mm-hmm.
where we sometimes lose our way. We just always
Right.
wanna be around the
Mm-hmm.
people who will tell us what we like to hear, but sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
need to do the tough thing and go to people who have a different opinion than you might have. And
Right.
that is tough because you're like, "I don't
Mm-hmm.
really click with this person. I don't really see myself as this kinda individual." But that's where the
Mm-hmm.
stages comes in, right? That's where
Mm-hmm.
if you know that you are a cultivator, you're a people person, and this
Yep.
person over here is
Mm-hmm.
strictly a preparation person. All they do is
Mm-hmm.
just start things, and they don't necessarily understand the bigger picture, but you
Mm-hmm.
know that need to demonstrate that you can do that as well, it might benefit you to spend some time with people you're not as comfortable with. It might benefit
Mhm.
you to have an individual like that on your team to balance.
Right.
Because as you well know, like if you go to a restaurant and you just have a bowl of grapes, you're like, I could have did this at home. But people are willing to pay a premium for a
Mhm.
salad that has
Mhm.
grapes and nuts and
Sure
mixed
enough.
leaf
Sure
vegetables
enough.
and the right,
Mhm.
all the garnishes. And that comes with the wisdom that comes in terms of recognizing the value of all of these
Yes.
stages and not
Mhm.
dismissing any one part because we don't like it. You understand what I
Exactly.
mean?
Mhm.
We're
And
going
that
for the
is so
premium. We're
powerful.
going for the
Mhm.
best quality. We're going for excellence. And in terms of
Mhm.
pursuing excellence, there are going to be some uncomfortable moments on that journey,
Yeah.
but we have to
Mhm.
not shy away from them or think that they mean us evil just because
Mhm.
it's stretching us in a way that is not comfortable.
Right. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's best to get uncomfortable so that we can get comfortable in this new persona we're trying to portray.
absolutely.
So that is so
Absolutely.
powerful. So let me ask you this. What are some of the things that you did to help prepare you for where you need to go? What are some of the resources? Did you use mentoring? What kind of tips can you give our audience on what you did so they can get to where you are?
Yeah, so I really took a
Mm-hmm.
step back before I went forward.
Mm.
I took that
Mm-hmm.
step back in terms of I knew I had small children at home, and I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I wanted to be
Yeah.
available most to them and my husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's my
Right.
first responsibility. And because I
Mm-hmm.
knew that that was what my first responsibility was, it filtered
Mm-hmm.
out a lot of the things that I would have done in terms of
Mm-hmm.
going back to school or,
Mm-hmm.
having an availability of around the clock type of hours. Like I knew that there were going to be
Mm-hmm.
some restrictions and barriers that I would have to put in place in order to accomplish the goals that I was pursuing. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, it came with realizing like, okay, I'm at a new
Mm-hmm.
company. It's a
Yeah.
huge company, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And because everyone at my previous company, they kind of knew me. I kind of made my way around through different jobs that I had. So, of course, you meet people, you create networks. I realized
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't have a deep network at this new company. So, it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily all about mentoring because that was one
Right.
of the key things that I definitely was intentional about
Mm-hmm.
finding mentors who, number one, were naturally in alignment with how I was as a person, but also
Mm-hmm.
mentors that were in completely different areas of where I was trying to go. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, it goes back to the perspective and how do they perceive you? And I'll share this one thing real quick because I remember a conversation that I was having with a top leader of an organization.
Mm-hmm.
And this leader had introduced me in front of a group of colleagues and other leaders. And
Mm-hmm.
she was basically just giving some anecdotal type of, buffer in a sense of like, this Valerie is an amazing, she's like the best dressed person at this whole company. I could just tell you that. Right. And so I was like, oh, that's nice.
But
But it was just interesting to me because everyone else was like, "Oh my gosh, she noticed how you dressed. Oh my gosh, she even knows you." Like that was impressive to them. But
yes.
for me, when I had the opportunity to connect
No.
back with her, I was like, I really want to say I appreciate you even calling me out, number one, in that format, that platform, because there was
Mm-hmm.
hundreds of people there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, people would have been satisfied with the name drop just being in that room, right?
Yeah. Especially
I
based on the feedback people were giving you. Like I,
Yes,
I knew as
yes,
soon as you said it, I know where you're going
where I'm
with it.
going with it. And
Girl.
I, because of where I was going, needed
Mhm.
the affirmation from her in particular to be
Yeah.
resonated with my capability. Like I needed it to not just be about how I'd show up physically, but how
Mhm.
do I show up as a game changer? And do you
Yes.
know that I have this skill set? So that made me
Yes.
more intentional about, okay, where I'm currently sitting, no one
Mm.
knows the superpowers that I have because I'm doing this
Mhm. Let me get my
effortlessly.
cape.
Let me make sure I can figure out where I need to go to get the
Mhm.
credibility that I was lacking.
Yes.
And so I had to go to an uncomfortable group, an
Mhm.
uncomfortable stage, an uncomfortable area
Mhm.
that I just felt
Mhm.
wasn't really a fit, but I knew that
Mhm.
group had credibility. And I knew that I would
Mhm.
be able to be a student in
Mhm.
that group. I wasn't going there for promotion. I wasn't going there for
Right.
anything other than the
Mhm.
credibility, because
Mhm.
me dressing the way I dress was something I decided on at the beginning of my career, because
Yeah.
I decided I didn't want to rest in my introverted nature. I wanted
Mhm.
my attire to be a conversation starter. And it always
Mhm.
has been. When people see certain
Mhm.
outfits that I might wear, they're like, "Oh my God, where did you get that from?" And it'll open
Mhm.
doors to a conversation that I wouldn't normally be able to
I
have.
love
So
that.
it's always
How
been
creative
strategic.
that is. I love it.
I'm a
Mhm.
creative.
Mhm.
Naturally, I create. I love drawing. I was the only finance major taking a bunch of art classes at U of I,
I love
and
it.
I didn't know that about me.
Yeah.
But I didn't
Mhm.
make these connections until I
Mhm.
started to look at myself, be
Yes.
introspective, and see, like, all of these things had purpose. All of
Right.
these things weren't a coincidence. Her making that
Mhm.
comment about me being the best dressed wasn't an accident. It was a good comment. It was a good compliment, but it was
Mhm.
the very catalyst I needed to see what I was missing. And that's why
Mhm.
I say feedback is a gift. I don't even
Mhm.
think that people realize as much as they should about the
Mhm.
power of how people speak about you. And I
Yes.
think we tend to recognize it if it's negative, but we don't listen always to the words of when it's complimentary. We're like, "That's
Mhm.
good. That's always good feedback." But I'm like, "No, I'm
Mhm.
listening to both sides. I want to understand, how am I showing up?" And the language that I'm hearing more is about my attire and not
Yeah.
how much of a difference maker I am. So I had to
Yeah.
change it. And that opened the door
Change
for
the
so many
atmosphere.
other
Yes.
avenues. So I just
Mhm.
hope that that resonates with someone, because I know you can be a proficient contributor in a certain space and you are expert in that area. And no one
Mhm.
wants to dismiss the amount of time it took for you to gain the expertise. But what I really,
Mhm.
really can't stress enough is the amount of effort that's needed in order to really take a different lens about how
Mhm.
you self assess yourself, how you self reflect, and do the
Yes.
introspection work to give you your game plan for how to move forward.
Woo, girl. Oh, this is so powerful, and you are so right. These are all of the things I coach my clients on, to making sure that they understand how to put in the mouths of others what you want. And you've just laid out everything for them to do.
Everything. So I
Y'all
hope that
hear
helps.
this, replay this, listen intently to this information, and get yourself on the right track to help yourself so you can become the CEO of your career. Now, if you need help, I'm your girl. Just call me. Get on
All
my
of us.
website, irockresumes.com. Career coaching. This is some of the things I help you grab those words, formulate them and practice with you so you know how to articulate them. If you need help, that's what I'm here for. Valerie is giving you everything. You can take this information and run with it. If you need additional help, go to irockresumes.com /irock careers. Sign up for a career coaching session so we can get you on the right track. Oh
Okay,
my
but like,
gosh. Yes.
stole my
Mhm.
thunder a little bit, because I was just about to give you that plug in terms of saying, when you find
Yes.
yourself not making the impact, you've applied for jobs, you've gotten
Mhm.
no responses, you've
Mhm.
done everything you can do in your power. That goes back to the point I was making earlier. If that is not your
Mhm.
natural ability to be able to
Mhm.
create concise messaging around who you are, partner with a
Mhm.
professional like I did, and do what's necessary to invest in you, because no
Mhm.
one can do a better job of representing you than you. So
That's
you have
right.
to see that it's not just a money spent,
Mhm.
it's money well spent, because you're
Mhm.
taking the investment and believing what you say you can do. So
Mhm.
I hope that, again, people take the opportunity of saying, like, what am I missing? Because
Yeah.
usually it is that transition from where we're comfortable into
Mhm.
spaces that are unfamiliar to us. And you've
Mhm.
seen thousands of resumes, I'm sure, by now. And so you
Yes.
know what best practices look like in
Sure
every
enough.
industry that I'm sure your clients are coming to you for.
Yep.
And I
Mhm.
think that's a secret weapon. And so
Mhm.
you have to use the resources that are available to you, not just in mentoring, but in taking
Mhm.
the feedback and taking the steps that others have taken, that you believe that resonate with you, because it's not a coincidence that you're listening to this podcast. It's not a coincidence
Nope.
that you're hearing this message, because like I said, for years, it didn't even dawn on me. It didn't even resonate with me that some of the things that I was failing in was allowing myself to be me and to show up as me.
See? Oh my gosh. And that's one of the things that I make sure I do is pull out. Let's say you didn't know this about you, but because I am just meeting you, I have an outside perspective that can see you for who you are. And I can tell, I can just by listening, because y'all know when I do the consultation, what I tell you, Valerie, I said, oh girl, I know exactly how I'm going to position you. Because all I got to do is talk to you. I know exactly how to pull that out and position you. And because it takes an outside voice to be able to do that. But we got a question from Kimmy. How do you change someone's perspective about you that's rooted in their own insecurities and not your
Now,
capabilities?
that is a real question. And the
Wow.
beauty of that question goes
Mm-hmm.
back to perspective.
Yes.
Doesn't it? And
Mm-hmm.
so when you think about perspective, it's hard because you can't necessarily be in the other person's mind. You can't understand
Mm-hmm.
all the biases that go into how they show up.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can do is dissect those things that you perceive as insecurities in them. And you can
Mm-hmm.
recognize, like, my best strength is partnering with someone that they respect. My best resource in getting to a point of helping to change their perspective is having someone else say positive things about me in the space that they are not aware of. Because
Right.
sometimes it coming from a person that they respect, they can
Mm-hmm.
listen with a different set of ears. And
Yep.
it's just like you
Mm-hmm.
said it, but it's coming from
Mm-hmm.
someone who can connect with them at a level that you may not be able to yet. And I don't
Right.
think that that is always a bad thing. I think it gives
Mm-hmm.
us a skill in terms of how to respond and serve our leaders or the
Mm-hmm.
people who we have to deal with that issue with, right? Because it gives you
Mm-hmm.
more of a diversity in how you show up when it comes to overcoming challenges, when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
the tactics that you use to solve those problems that you're consistently seeing, especially if it's a pattern, or you're seeing
Yeah.
this kind of happen manager after manager. You're just feeling like, I don't understand why they don't see how hard I'm working, or I don't understand
Mm-hmm.
why they can't see how much I understand or know about this area. And maybe it's just a matter of you over
Mm-hmm.
communicating to them. It could be some
Yeah.
shifts in of how you do what you do, like continuing to do what the good job that you do, but being more aware that, you know what, I don't really connect them in until I'm done with the project, or I don't
Yeah.
really do a good job of sharing the little steps along the way. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes by doing that, we aren't recognizing that we're not meeting the needs of a person that needs to be over communicated to. Because you're like, I don't need
Mhm.
that. I don't need
Right.
someone to tell me what to do. So we tend to give people what we want to receive versus what they
Yes.
might
Need. Oh, that is great. That is absolutely powerful. Let me see
need.
what
Yeah.
other kind of comments I got here. Let me see. We got valuable. Oh, and Precious says valuable nuggets of wisdom. Yes, thank you for tuning
Good.
in, Precious. Precious was, I think you were episode 2, I think. So y'all got to go out there and look at Precious and go to youtube.com. Nicolette Barrett, also known as the Good Hire Strategist. You see it scrolling on the bottom. Like, subscribe, and listen to these powerful interviews. Save them to your library so that you can go back and listen again when you need that oomph. If somebody has said something to you, you say, you know what? I remember hearing something. Let me go and get those tools I need that Valerie dropped so I can make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. Let me see. Let's say definitely. Oh, yes. Stacy said she's definitely watching the replay. Thank you. Make sure you put a hashtag replay in there. And say all of your guests are. I know, and it's so wonderful to have these guests. I'm like, I have to say, I got a bad network, boy. My network is awesome. And I just need to get these wonderful people on here to share their wisdom, to share their knowledge, to really showcase what they can do and how they need to show up. Oh, I'm just so, she said, this blesses me every time. I'm so glad, Precious. You just don't know. And
Good.
when me and Precious be on together, we be crying off our makeup. So
Oh, see. Oh, that's another
And that is
good
one powerful sister. When I say
good.
Precious is powerful, and the way that she does it, she uses practicality and humor to get her point across, and we just be crying.
I love it. I love it.
Yes. And Kimmy says, thank you so much for answering and providing those nuggets of wisdom. Yep. Yes. Replay, definitely for sure. Now, before we get, yeah, no, Taylor said, yes, you have a wonderful wealth of connection. I'm just so blessed and honored because, I mean, you have to, in order to gain friends, you have to first show yourself friendly,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And I don't
Right.
meet a stranger, as you all could probably tell. I don't meet a stranger. You become my friend immediately. And I love to be connected with great people and being able to showcase it on this show, iRock.tv. In just case you all are checking this out for the first time, I'm here every week with wonderful guests and some wisdom and nuggets talking about real talk, real careers to get real results. Go out to youtube.com / Nicolette Barrett, also, or AKA the Get Higher Strategist. Subscribe and get the bell reminder so when we're on, you can get this great information to help you advance in your career. And of course, go to iRockResumes.com if you're looking for some help in pulling these things together. Sign up for a coaching session and let's get you started on the road that you need to be on so you can articulate your harvest, the which harvest you're part of the Seedtime, the harvest that you're in, to those that you're, communicating with, and make sure that you're connecting with Valerie as well. And I'll put up her information. Let's say thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, Sammy says. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. Now, let me ask you there. Who are the 2 to 3 people that have been most influential in your life? I ask every guest that.
Oh, that's a good question. I would
Mm-hmm.
definitely say my parents first. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you why, because they didn't have a ton of education.
Mm-hmm.
They came from Mississippi,
Mm-hmm.
in the Delta in Belzoni,
Mm-hmm.
and were able to be pioneers in knowing
Mm-hmm.
that they had to move from what was comfortable and familiar to a city
Mm-hmm.
in Chicago to
Mm-hmm.
pursue better for all 5 of their kids
Mm-hmm.
and to ensure that we understood the value of education. And all 5
Mm-hmm.
of us graduated, went on to do amazing things, and
Yes.
it was
Mm-hmm.
really because of their tenacity and consistency in showing
Mm-hmm.
up and being
Mm-hmm.
a model for the things that they wanted to see happen in us. I would
Nice.
also say my husband, Tony,
Yay,
because that was
Tony!
he was the person when I first met him, I was like, "He is such a hard worker." He
Mm-hmm.
definitely he
Mm-hmm.
exhibits, such a tenacity in pursuing
Mm-hmm.
relationships,
Yes.
people, like he
Mm-hmm.
did even for me. And
Wow.
so I always have honored that and admired that about him, and I knew that he
Mm-hmm.
would be a good husband because of the fact that he, just really always showed me, the true nature of his character, that he's just a genuine
Yes.
person, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
honored to be,
Mm-hmm.
alongside of him on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know, I guess last but not least, in terms of just others that I would say have helped me, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard for me to pick one person that's been the most
Your tribe.
influential.
Yeah, I understand. Go
Yeah,
ahead. Mm-hmm.
I really have to think about this last one because I really wanna be careful to say,
Mm-hmm.
it probably would have been, one of my mentors because
Mm-hmm.
not only did she see something in me that I feel at
Mm-hmm.
the stage that I was in my career, I just wasn't even sure about myself because it seemed like no
Yeah.
one was willing to
Mm-hmm.
listen. No one was able to see the value that I could bring to things. But because
Mm-hmm.
she believed in me and because she
Mm-hmm.
believed in the vision that I had, it was her support throughout that journey that I believe has really changed the game in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how I saw these stages and the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of these stages. And as I mentioned before, it's always important to have advocates. It's always important to have people in your corner, but
Yeah.
it's also important to have mentors who can be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you, like she was with me, and
Mm-hmm.
saying, "You could do sales all day long. We need to get you
Mm-hmm.
this credibility." And that
Mm-hmm.
helped me to realize, like, it's not about the role. It's really not.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
really about what skill set you're lacking that other
Mm-hmm.
people need to see more visibly. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that shifted my whole strategy in my career. And I'm just thankful to her. And I'm thankful to the fact that I have people in my life that I could say are true models
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
what success looks like at every
Mhm.
level of life. And
Mhm.
so with that, I just hope that that resonates
Yes.
with other people too,
Yes.
because I'm sure we all have them if we really think about it.
Yes.
So I'm
Right.
just grateful to have them.
So, if you were to say, I rock and put something after that, how would you finish that sentence about yourself?
Hmm. I would say I rock results. And the reason I say that
Go ahead,
is
girl.
because I am so results driven that it's
Hmm.
so important to me to not waste any ounce of energy. Like, I
Hmm.
don't have time for that. So it's
Hmm.
like,
That's right.
and it's not even about the end result. It's really
Uh-huh.
all about the journey, the milestones to getting to the results that we desire. And
Hmm.
so I rock the result because I just feel my commitment to it is so intentional and it's
Hmm.
so deliberate in such a way that I now have made a renewed commitment to these stages that I'm in where I'm like, not on social media because I need to
Hmm.
unplug from
Hmm.
distraction that
Hmm.
hinder me from being a cultivator of the relationships that I know I
Yes.
need to focus on in this season. So
Hmm.
I'm making that commitment because the result that I desire, I know will be lifelong and lasting.
Right. Well, I am just so in awe. I mean, I have so many other things that I would love to ask. And this is supposed to be a lunch and learn. And girl, we have lunched and we have learned. We have eaten on your wisdom, and we should be full and ready to run, run, run. Not only did you drop nuggets, you also basically preached to us today, girl. I'm telling you that whole topic can preach. So I wanted my husband, listen, Pastor Barrett, are you there?
That's so funny. Yes,
Yes.
it
So
will.
I
It'll
mean,
be
it is
family.
absolutely wonderful, and I'm so grateful for to have you here. Let me see. Yes, she said I could listen. See that I can listen to this sister all day. Wow, wisdom. I know you gonna have to come back, girl.
I
I
would
mean, we
love
can
to.
continue with this conversation and
Yes,
bring you back for part two. And but
absolutely.
I am so grateful to have you here again. You all like, comment, share this segment with your audience and go out there and see all of the great information out there. Even Tony is on there. Go out and listen to his wisdom and his nuggets. This is, like I said, this is a powerful couple. And I'm so thankful to have met them. And you're talking about tenacity because he took the initiative to reach out to me and another peer of mine. Say, hey, I need to get to Dallas. What do I need to do? We got to work it. Hey, got him here. And I'm
Yes,
telling you, oh my gosh, it has been absolutely phenomenal. I'm so glad. When I first met you, I said, oh, she's the cutest little
I
thing. So
know.
I was
I was like, have we met before? Like, you know,
yeah,
we
that we
have
just
instant
like I'm
connection.
hugging and we just like,
Yes,
hey, no, it's like, yep, like I've known you forever. So,
yes.
but I am just so grateful for you being here. Thank you so much for gracing the iRock TV audience and all of the people out there. And thank you so much. Also, we're gonna have to get you into the because you're part of the break room, and then when we have one of our segments, we're gonna have to have you there. Now, if you all wonder what the break room is, you have to be on my email list. And it's a private community of powerful sisters and brothers just like Valerie, where we get together and really have candid, even more candid conversation. It's a private group. You have to be on my email list or a client in order to be a part of this actual group because we really go raw in those conversations. Great conversations that we have that even help you further in your career. So if you're interested in being a part of the break room, we meet every Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time where we talk about different topics. And today we're talking about diversity and inclusion. Is it a band aid? Ouch. Or is it for real?
Right.
That's our topic today. And we converse. So if you're interested in getting on my email list and join that as well. And that's about it. Let me see. Oh, Taylor, she said, Nicola, you are a real gem. Thank you, girl.
Are.
Because we hit it off. We ain't met it in person at all, and we hit it off too. And it's still so eerie. Y'all sound so much alike.
I think it's so
Yes.
funny because we hear that all the time.
Yeah. You
Or like
you
one
it's very
voice.
scary. Yep.
Yes, it's
And so
funny.
Stacy asked, what's your social media? And here, Terrell and your sister put it up there. Facebook, Valerie Simpson Johnson, and also
Yes,
get connected with her on
I see
LinkedIn.
Valerie J.
She's
Yeah,
on
LinkedIn
LinkedIn.
is
Y'all
on
know
there.
I'm big on LinkedIn, so make sure you connect with her as well there. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So thank you again for gracing us with your presence. It's been an honor. Thank you so much for all that you do and sharing your wisdom. And we're going to definitely have you back for part 2. And what last words would you like to give the audience before we sign off for today?
I would just like to remind them, do not rot on that vine. You need to make sure you are constantly evolving, constantly living, constantly pursuing your passion. So don't settle for less. Go for everything that you were purposed here to do. So with that, just go out and prosper.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye, guys. We're going to sign off and we'll see you next time. Same place, same, I don't want to say bad channel. Am I dating myself when I say that? But anyway, at iRock.tv.
Ooh,
Bye.
bye.